Have you ever seen a shadow at the foot of your bed? Or experienced the sudden crushing weight on your chest with the realization that you cannot move? You're wide awake but cannot do anything about it. So all you can do is just look in fear. For centuries, it was known in legends as the hagging, an attack by a witch or an old hag who would ride your breath until the sun rose, meaning that they'd steal your life force through your breath while holding you completely immobile. You've probably heard of it as sleep paralysis. In this state, your mind snaps awake while you cannot move any part of your body. Can't lift your arms, can't twist your body, can't shake your legs, leaving you fully conscious but completely helpless lying on your bed. In this video, we'll do a deep dive into the old hag our ancestors blamed for this specific type of awakened nightmare. We're going back thousands of years to meet the creature that's been hiding in our bedrooms for centuries. Let's begin. Meet the Mara, the original sleep paralysis. The roots of this terror are buried deep in the soil of northern Europe during the age of the Vikings and before. When they woke up pinned to their mattresses, they looked for the Mara, an ancient spirit whose name comes from an Old Norse word that defines the crushing sensation of sleep paralysis.
This is harvest. When I settle on your ribs, I am not just holding you down. I am tethering your soul so it cannot flee while I drink the heat from your lungs. Your stillness is my dinner table.
This wasn't a ghost that haunted a house or a graveyard. It was a demonic parasite that hunts as an ethereal wisp and would enter your bedroom through keyholes or open slits through window or holes in the walls. Once inside, she would regain her weight and settle on the sleeper's chest, slowly riding them to freeze their motor functions and suck out their life energy. This wasn't just a story told to frighten children. It was a reality that dictated how people lived and where they slept. Sleep paralysis in the New World. The legends of the Mara crossed the Atlantic and became well known as well. In Newfoundland and Appalachia, the experience was often known as a sending, where the old hag was used as a deliberate spiritual weapon. This wasn't a random haunting. It was a ritual of malice. A begrudged neighbor, a jealous co-worker, or a jilted ex-lover would hire a witch or be a practitioner of magic themselves to send the old hag to a targeted victim, which could be you.
I know a sending when I see it. It's a theft of life. The hag doesn't wait for your time to be up. She breaks in and holds you in the gray space to feast on your remaining years.
Using a hag stone, a rock with a natural hole through the sender would whisper the victim's name, aiming their shadow self toward a specific bedroom. Being hagged was a message. You pissed off someone who has access to dark powers. And further south in the low-country region of South Carolina, the terror is something more predatory. The Boo Hag. She is a skinless red entity that lives among humans by day using a stolen skin. At night, she sheds that skin and slips through the cracks in your walls to ride you for the sheer hunger of your life energy. The Old Hag in other parts of the world. The tale of the Old Hag is not restricted to Northern Europe and the New World. If you lived in Brazil, you'd be terrified of the pisadeira. She is described as a gaunt, skeletal woman with long yellow fingernails and glowing red eyes who literally lives on your rooftop. She waits for you to fall asleep before she drops down to stomp on your chest. And if you were across the world in Japan, you'd experience kanashibari, which literally translates to being bound in metal chains. In their legends, a vengeful spirit physically stakes you to your bed with invisible iron. In parts of Africa, they tell stories of a night demon that acts as a spiritual thief, stealing your voice while you're frozen. Interestingly enough, the night demon is the original inspiration for the Boo Hag of South Carolina, as mentioned earlier.
Humans mistake the hag for my kind. It's insulting. I want your heart and secrets. She wants your ribs and air. She isn't here to entice you. She is a brute, a cold weight from the world's cellar crawling into bed with the living.
Evidence of visits. Now, you might try to tell yourself it's all just a bad dream, but our ancestors didn't have that luxury. Why? Because they found evidence the next morning. If you woke up with fresh, deep bruises on your ribs or your arms that weren't there when you fell asleep, you didn't just sleep wrong.
I am a creature of precision, 2 marks and a memory. But the hag, she's a brute. Those witch-ride bruises are fingerprints of a physical weight, a stamp of ownership left by a predator who doesn't care about being subtle.
In Northern Europe, they also looked for elf locks, hair tangled in knots that couldn't be combed out. When you see the marks on your own skin or the knots in your hair that weren't there when you went to bed, it becomes much harder to tell yourself that this was just a trick of the mind. You start to realize that whatever you thought was on top of you was actually there, defending the night. Because our ancestors knew the hag was real, they set traps to protect themselves. In the American South, they used haint blue paint on door frames to trick the hag into thinking it was water or the sky. And here's a twist. For you see, like many spirits of the old world, the hag is bound by an ancient law that she cannot cross running water. By painting the entrance blue, you're creating a permanent symbolic river she simply cannot step over. But what if she did get inside? Then you'd have to exploit her biggest weakness, her obsessive nature. People would hang a sieve on the door handle. The legend goes that the hag is compelled to count every single hole in that sieve before she can touch you. By the time she finished, the sun would be coming up, forcing her to flee. These weren't just superstitions, they were survival tactics.
Counting. That is the one thing our kind cannot stomach. A sieve is a clever trick. We are all slaves to the rhythm of the count. If you're smart enough to hang one, you might just live to see the sun.
So tonight, maybe you should look for a sieve to hang by your bed before lights out. Because when you close your eyes, you have to wonder if you're really alone. Thank you for watching. Have you experienced sleep paralysis? Tell us in the comments. Sweet dreams.